Welcome to Stage 2 of the Boston Marathon. In this leg of the race, you'll be running from Framingham to Wellesley, which is approximately 6.5 miles. This section covers the route from Framingham through Natick up to the first part of Wellesley, but you may end up calling it the Hallelujah Flats. Here, the course starts to even out a bit, and your knees can take a break as you get into a good rhythm. But don't rest too much. There'll be hills before you know it. Looks like we have a bunch of kids cheering us along right now. Maybe some future racers. But looks like they'll have to wait a bit. You have to be 18 years old by race day to run in the Boston Marathon. Of rest, here's something to keep in mind when training. You always want to add some downtime into your regimen. For the highly trained, this might be 30 minutes of easy running every few days. For others, it's one day of being completely off from training. Either way, your body needs recovery time so it can train hard when it's time. But first, you gotta earn that break. So let's pick up the pace a bit. Passing the Framingham Baking Company on the right. They opened in 1917 and are famous for their bread rolls. No time to stop and eat right now, though. Framingham know a thing or two about fighting for what they believe in. The residents were willing participants in the Revolutionary War, and Crispus Attucks was recognized as the first American killed by the British Empire during the Boston Massacre on March 5, 1770. If the marathon were around then, I bet they'd join you in this running section. Excellent work. 6 miles down. Great pace you have going there. If you need to slow it down a bit or speed it up, there's no need to reach for the treadmill and break stride. Just use your speed ring feature on the treadmill. A swift move by your thumb on the ring, and you can hit the level you want easily. If you're feeling the need, go for it and keep running a bit. The population of Framingham is right around 70,000. Looks like most of them are lined up today. In addition to the water stations, the Boston Marathon offers several stations with fluids with electrolytes added. You should be coming up on the track soon. Hopefully nothing will be in your way. Unlike our friends in the 1907 marathon, Thomas Longboat, an Onondaga Indian from Hamilton, Ontario, and Bostonian James Lee led a contingent of 6 runners past the railroad. But it wasn't extra leg power that helped them pull ahead of the pack. It was a freight train that ended up blocking the remaining runners, giving them an insurmountable lead. Thankfully, these days, we're able to hold the trains up during race time. So feel free to let it out a bit. Speaking of trains, it looks like we're coming up on the train depot. Here is where you will get your first real wave of crowd noise since the start. For some, that's the only energy boost they'll need. On your left is the train depot built by famed architect Henry Hobson Richardson in 1885. The next time you see one of his pieces of architecture, you'll be receiving a finisher's medal in front of Boston's Trinity Church in Copley Square. Hope to see you there. The woman on the right has a prosthetic leg. The Boston Marathon has a proud tradition of extending the challenge of the marathon to people with disabilities. In 1975, the Boston Marathon became the first major marathon to include a wheelchair division competition. And with that, Mile 7 is now behind us. Keep it up. backpacks look heavy. Do you know the usual load for a soldier's backpack for a road march is between 40 and 65 pounds? Nice stride. Looks like you're in the zone. How about a little Natick history to take your mind off things? The town of Natick was granted in 1650 when missionary John Eliot received a formal charter for the 6,000-acre parcel of land. Although the charter stated only Indians could live on the land, Eliot stayed to try to convert them to Christianity. By 1657, Natick had one of the largest Indian populations in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. But later that year, King Philip's War set in, and the anti-Indian sentiment spread, forcing Natick's first citizens to be exiled to Deer Island in Boston Harbor. You won't be able to see Deer Island from Boston, but you may see it on your flight in and out of Boston's Logan Airport. For now, enjoy the route, and I'll join you in a bit to share some great marathon stories that happened in this section. Is it just me, or does Santa look a little out of place? Fantastic. Mile 8 is now history. you're making great time. Have you had any water lately? You'll want to remember to hydrate before, during, and after your training with a combination of water and electrolytes. This is especially important when it's hot out. Oh, watch out. What's this guy want? Runner Doroteo Flores of Guatemala could have used some hydration after the race in 1952. On a scorching 88-degree day, he survived to win the marathon by almost 5 minutes, in 2 hours, 31 minutes, and 53 seconds. Flores took the lead from countryman Luis Velasquez near the 10-mile mark in Natick and never looked back. Appearing undaunted by the oppressive heat and humidity, he breezed through the remainder of the route to finish ahead of American Victor Dyergall. Right about now, you're probably thinking to yourself you're glad you're running in a room with AC. Not that it mattered, because you, my friend, have a healthy sweat going there. Good for you. Judging by the prices on the left, looks like gas was a little cheaper in town. Mile 9. Excellent work. Whoa there. Don't go too fast or you might hydroplane a bit. You'll find strong winds coming off Lake Cochituate on your left and Fisk Pond on your right, which can make for some troublesome running on the course. Thankfully, you're inside. But if you want to get a feel for what this is like, turn on the fans a bit. The Boston Marathon treadmill has two pretty beefy 8-inch fans that run up both sides. Feeling that power? Yeah, that was enough of that. Speaking of cooling runners off, the lake did just that on one of the warmer races. Funny story. According to Boston Marathon legend Ellison Tarzan Brown, several runners were overheating, so they used the lake and pond as a swimming pool and took a quick dip in there during the 1930 race. Maybe we'll just keep a good steady pace. Or hit the fan again if you need it. right, Wellesley up ahead. I'll let you run for a bit and get back to you. These tables on the right and the left are for the elite athletes. Each athlete has his or her own specialized fluid which they drink along the way. The morning of the race, the agent or coach for each elite athlete is allowed to give race officials up to 8 water bottles for their athlete to pick up along the way. So these fluids are sadly off limits. As if the smell of that bakery back there wasn't distracting enough, we have a barbecue going on over on the right. It's a little smoky. Feeling a bit breezy. That happens a lot in Wellesley, and that leads me to a great tip you want to keep in mind while training. Conditions change, so you always want to be willing to adapt your workout accordingly. Doing so will help relieve some of the physical stress and keep you from ruining your training for the remainder of the week. Natick comes from the language of the Massachusetts Native American tribe and means place of hills. The original settlement in the community of South Natick is a hilly area. Way to go! Mile 10 is now behind us. don't know what this is all about, but check out all the kids on the trampolines up on the right. I think I'll stick to the Boston Marathon treadmill. Mile 11, you're doing great. Coming up on good old Wellesley. In the 1630s, after negotiating with Indian chiefs Nehoidan and Magas, the original 19 pioneers paid 5 pounds of currency and 3 pounds of corn for the land that would later become the town. These days, that'll hardly get you a studio apartment here. Wellesley was settled in the 1630s as part of Dedham, Massachusetts. It was subsequently a part of Needham, Massachusetts, called West Needham. On October 23, 1880, West Needham residents voted to secede from Needham, and the town of Wellesley was later christened by the Massachusetts legislature on April 6, 1881. Right about now, we probably want to start our cool down, because there's a surprise in one of the tunnels at Wellesley that'll get your heart racing, in a good way. job on this stage. You ran it fast and strong, but hopefully conserved your energy because the Newton Hills are coming up soon.